Hi, this is an Intro to Communism for the World History course. First of all, let's start with two German political theorists. Their names were Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. However, for some reason in history, we kind of forget about Engels, and so now we know it as Marxism. So communism is also known as Marxism. So what is it? First, let's start with the fact that Marx and Engels kind of looked at history. They were historians. So they look at all of the history throughout the world, and they come up with a conclusion. Their conclusion is the history of all hitherto existing society is a history of class struggles. Basically, what this means is that you're going to have people throughout history that are going to have something, and people that do not have something, the have-nots, and the have-nots are going to struggle with the people that have. The movie 300 portrays the Greeks, in particular the Spartans, defending their homes because they have control of Greece and the Persians do not. So they're fighting. So it is some level of class struggle. The American Revolution, the patriots were upset because they were being taxed without representation. So they challenged the British, and they fought the American Revolution for their own independence and to be able to tax themselves and self-govern, and they won. So that is another example of class struggle. It could be in any day life. If you have a boss that has the power to make decisions and you don't have that power, you might struggle and rebel against your boss. So basically, if you boil it down, class struggles means that people have stuff, and then there's people that don't have stuff, and they are going to struggle with that difference. At the time that Marx and Engels lived, the Industrial Revolution was picking up full steam, and they identified a new class struggle that was created by the Industrial Revolution. So we have new haves and we have new have-nots. The haves were the bourgeoisie, which is it's a French term used during the French Revolution, but Marx and Engels' definition of bourgeoisie is much different. Basically, it means factory owners, the people that invested the money and were making a lot of the money. So this guy in the top hat in the suit is the one that owns all of these machines, and he also pays all of the workers. He is the boss. The workers, on the other hand, would be known as the proletariat. So as you can see, there's a lot more proletariats in this picture, and they are the factory workers. So now we have our two sides. We have the haves, which are the bourgeoisie, and the have-nots, which are the proletariat. Marx and Engels saw in their society, and they wrote in the Communist Manifesto, their book, that the bourgeoisie get all the money. The proletariat in the industrial society end up getting with not a whole lot of money. Marx and Engels wrote that this class struggle would eventually result in a violent revolution. And if you think about it, the proletariat had a sheer vast number. There was way more factory workers than there were factory owners. So basically it means this group of people could probably take that one guy. And that's pretty much what happens. Since the proletariat, I just said that, it would result in a classless society. Now this is pretty much the basis of the whole communism Marxist thing, is that this class struggle will eventually lead, or it should eventually lead, to a classless society. There's no rich, there's no poor, everybody is pretty much equal. That is going to have to include a redistribution of wealth, which basically means you take from the people that have and you give to the people that do not equally. This could be control of the factories, it could be the money that is made by whatever the factories are making. So in this term, in communism, it could also be property, your house, your business, money, anything. So for example, people that work their entire lives for the property they owned, for the money they had, they could potentially lose it all in a communist society. They would have to share with everyone else. But the people that are poor, homeless, completely broke, they would have something as opposed to not having anything in a capitalist society. So there are some positive aspects of communism and Marxism. It is utopian. In a perfect world, everyone would be equal. John Lennon wrote a song called Imagine that touched on that. In theory, no one is poor or rich. Everyone is equal. Everyone shares the duties. Everyone shares the profits, and everyone is happy. There are negative aspects of communism. One thing is it can kill incentives. For example, if you take a test and you get 100%, but the grading system is communist, that means you would get the class average, say 75%. So even though you studied and did well on the test, got 100%, you would only have a 75 in the class. After a while, you would stop studying because you're going to get a 75 whether you study a lot or a little, and the test average will eventually go down. So it can kill incentives. The other thing is, in reality, it does not work. Why not? Because as soon as someone starts making decisions for the classless society, you have a new class. The new class are the people that are making decisions. So the haves would now become the decision-making class, and then everyone else would be the have-nots. Which brings us back to Marx and Engels' original premise: the history of all hitherto existing society is a history of class struggles. It's just a new struggle that the communism would not necessarily solve. Which is reminiscent of a saying you may or may not have heard: history does have a tendency to repeat itself. And so it goes. Thank you.